Whispers in the Moonlit Garden. The wind howled through the broken windows of the old mansion, its hollow voice mingling with the creaks of the rotting wood that had been left untouched for years. Inside, amid the dust and decay, a woman stood at the edge of the grand staircase, her breath shallow, her heart pounding in her chest. She was not afraid, at least not in the way most would expect. No, her fear was different. It was the fear of failure, the fear that her years of labor, her soul's dedication, might come to nothing. She had spent the better part of her life working on a project that seemed impossible at times, and now, at this very moment, she stood on the precipice of its final test. Her name was Eleanor Hargrave, and she had spent over 2 decades researching the supernatural, driven by a deep, unexplainable connection to the unknown. She was a woman of intellect, her mind sharp and analytical, yet there were times when even she felt the pull of something beyond logic. Something that couldn't be explained by science or reason. Her obsession had begun in her youth, when she lost her beloved mother under strange circumstances. One night, she had been there, holding her hand, as her mother whispered words Eleanor could not comprehend. Since then, she had spent her life searching for answers that led her down dark, twisted paths, filled with secrets buried in ancient texts and arcane rituals. But now, in the shadow of the mansion, everything she had worked for, every sleepless night, every sacrifice, was about to come to fruition. And yet, something gnawed at her, a creeping sense of dread that refused to leave her side. It was as if the walls themselves were watching her, waiting for her to make a mistake. With trembling hands, she reached for the small silver key that hung from a chain around her neck. It was her last piece of the puzzle, the final step in unlocking the gate to the other side. The gate that, according to her research, would allow her to contact the spirits that lingered between worlds, to speak to her mother again, to know the truth. She had been warned. Countless people had told her to stop, to abandon her quest before it was too late. But Eleanor was not the type of woman to listen to warnings, not when it came to something as important as this. Her mother's death had haunted her for so long, and this was her chance to finally say goodbye. As she made her way down the dark hallway toward the forgotten library, where the ritual was to take place, the air grew colder. The candles flickered, casting eerie shadows on the walls. The old books, filled with arcane knowledge, seemed to whisper to her, urging her forward. It was here, in this room, that she would confront the darkness. But as she crossed the threshold into the library, she froze. There, standing in the center of the room, was a figure, tall, cloaked in black, its face obscured by the shadows. Her pulse quickened. Was it a spirit? A manifestation of the ritual she was about to perform? "Who are you?" she asked, her voice trembling despite her best efforts to remain composed. The figure remained silent, unmoving. But then, it spoke, its voice a low, menacing whisper that seemed to echo from all around her. "You should not be here, Eleanor." Her breath caught in her throat. How did it know her name? "You've sought answers for so long," the voice continued, "but some things are better left unknown." The figure stepped closer, its presence overwhelming. Eleanor could feel her heart race, a sense of dread clawing at her insides. But despite the fear, she refused to turn away. She had come too far. "I need to know," she said, her voice steady now, despite the fear that gripped her. "I need to speak to her. I need the truth." The figure laughed, a low, chilling sound that sent shivers down her spine. "The truth," it repeated, as if mocking her. "You seek the truth, but truth is a cruel thing, Eleanor. It has a cost." "I'm willing to pay it," she whispered, her eyes burning with determination. "I've paid it already." The figure paused for a moment, as if considering her words. Then, slowly, it raised one hand, and in a flash of movement, the room around them began to shift. The walls seemed to warp, the air thick with an oppressive weight. Eleanor staggered back, her heart pounding in her chest as the world around her became a blur of shadows and light. And then there she was, a woman, standing in the center of the room. Her face was pale, her eyes distant, as if she were staring at something far beyond this world. "Mother," Eleanor breathed, her voice breaking. "Is it really you?" The woman did not respond, her gaze unfocused, her form flickering in and out of existence. Eleanor stepped closer, reaching out, her fingers trembling. "Please tell me what happened. Tell me the truth." But as her hand brushed against the woman's arm, the figure vanished, leaving only a lingering coldness in the air. Eleanor was left standing alone in the empty room, her heart shattered, her hopes dashed. The world around her seemed to collapse, the walls closing in, the shadows creeping closer, suffocating her. And then, in the silence, she heard it. A voice. Soft, gentle, yet unmistakably familiar. "You already know the truth, Eleanor." Eleanor spun around, her breath catching in her throat. The figure stood before her again, but this time, it was not her mother. It was something else, something darker, more terrifying. "You've always known," the voice continued, its tone twisted with both sadness and warning. "The truth has always been with you, hiding just beneath the surface." Eleanor's mind raced as the realization hit her. The truth was not something she could unlock through rituals or dark magic. It had been inside her all along. The truth was that her obsession, her relentless pursuit of the unknown, had driven her to this moment of despair. She had spent so many years trying to find something outside of herself, something beyond her reach, that she had forgotten to look within. The truth was that her mother's death had been part of a greater design, one that Eleanor could never fully comprehend. But in her quest to understand it, she had lost herself. She had lost the ability to see the beauty in life, the love that surrounded her, the simple joys of existence. In her search for answers, she had sacrificed everything. And now, standing in the moonlit garden outside the mansion, she realized that it was time to let go. It was time to stop searching, to stop chasing ghosts. She took a deep breath, the cool night air filling her lungs. The moon shone brightly above her, casting a soft glow over the garden. It was quiet now, peaceful, as if the world itself had paused to allow her to find peace. For the first time in years, Eleanor felt at ease. The weight that had burdened her heart for so long lifted, and with it, a profound sense of clarity. She no longer needed the answers. She no longer needed to speak to her mother or to uncover the dark secrets that had haunted her for so long. The truth had been revealed, not through rituals or dark forces, but through her own acceptance of herself and her past. She was free. And as the moonlight bathed the garden in its soft glow, Eleanor Hargrave smiled for the first time in years. For she had found the truth, and it was enough.
Whispering echoes.